Hey guys, welcome to 5M by 5R, a show where I take 5 minutes and use it to review 5 video games with a common theme. And today's theme is terrible video games. And with the exception of one, I believe all of these games have been pulled from sale for how bad they are. So it should be a pretty fun video to say the least. This is the first time I've done a video like this, so I would appreciate your feedback if you have it to give it. And if you just want to say that you like the video, that's fine. But please, if you have something that you think would improve the video, feel free to tell me about it. And without further ado, we will go ahead and get started with the list right now, starting with the top one on the list. And just as a disclaimer, these are in no particular order. They are all bad. The less that's said about this game, the better, so it's a good thing then we're discussing it in this video. Ride to Hell Retribution was released in June of 2013, quickly and easily earning the title of Worst Game of the Year. Developed by Technics with such classics as Big Mother Truckers and its sequel Truck Me Harder under their belt, it's difficult to understand how a company with such a pedigree could get driving and sex appeal so terribly wrong in their highest profile game to date. But get it wrong they did. With an outright offensive portrayal of women in some of the most mind-numbingly inconsequential driving sequences in a game of recent memory, Technics makes its best effort to ensure no one playing this game is having a good time. The problems don't end at its portrayal or bland gameplay either. The cutscenes are so poorly choreographed, scripted, and acted that it's impossible to take anything that happens in this game seriously. Not to mention some cutscenes are totally devoid of any audio. Back that up with poor controls, repetitive combat, bad graphics, and bugs to boot, and it's no wonder the game was pulled from Steam in 2014. It's too bad then the game doesn't fall into the category of so bad it's good. For what it's worth, the game technically runs. Avoid no matter what your reason, not that you have a choice, as Ride to Hell Retribution receives a 1 out of 10. Postal games are offensive, but at some point a line is crossed, and I think we've reached that here. Postal 3 was outsourced to Trashmaster Studios by Running with Scissors as a direct sequel before being reclassed as a spin-off. Due to poor critical reception, they pulled the game from their own store, recommending instead that people buy previous entries in the series. Par for the course, the plot is worthless. After nuking the previous locale of Paradise, our protagonist, Postal Guy, gets stranded in its sister town Catharsis when he runs out of gas, forcing him to do odd jobs. Technically, there's a good and a bad path here, but both result in our hero being a complete shithead. With missions such as killing Muslims simply because they're Muslim or weaponizing cats by shoving grenades in their rectum, you're never far away from a new offensive activity, with one-liners worse than the cheesiest 90s action movies.
Bacon, bacon, bacon.
And cutscene cards ripped straight from Borderlands. It's clear the developer doesn't understand the difference between satire and cringe. All of this in the most empty feeling game world, with little people, no traffic, no music outside of missions, and very little sound effects. If you get a kick out of being a racist, vindictive asshole for no reason, you might get some enjoyment out of this game. For everyone else, Postal 3 is literal garbage that even the developer threw out. 2.5 out of 10. Before I begin, I invite you to watch the footage on screen. I'm not a cricket expert, but I'm confident that this isn't how the game is played. Developed by Trickstar Games and published to Steam by 505 Games, it was met with immediate backlash and pulled from the store just 4 days later. This game is a special kind of awful, where it crosses into being good for the sheer hilarity of it. Character animations are bad, jumping from one animation into another with no transition, spinning on spot, taking actions that do not pertain to the game, and other general silliness. Of course, there are actual technical failings as well. Features that are not functional, poor controls that are not adequately explained or documented, and it doesn't help that the camera is choppy, poorly angled, and manages to jump to a new perspective at the most inopportune moments. Lastly, and most entertaining, are the glitches, which even with more than a minute I could never show you all of. If you've been paying attention, I'm sure you've already noticed your fair share. The game is borderline unplayable, the PC version pulled and the console version cancelled as a result of the issues. Even if you could purchase Ash's Cricket 2013, I wouldn't recommend it unless you get a kick out of hilariously broken games. In order to be a game, you have to be able to play it. 0 out of 10. Reality Pump Studios made a game called Two Worlds 2, which, while not amazing, was a decent game, and I thought for sure the next one would be great. But the next one was Raven's Cry. Raven's Cry is controversial for many reasons, not the least of which are alleged fake user reviews and a shady rebranded re-release. Originally released in January 2015 on the Xbox 360 and PC by Reality Pump Studios, developer of the aforementioned Two Worlds 2. The game was lambasted and, you guessed it, pulled from sale. But it's okay because Reality Pump had a plan. Apparently they were going to fix it and re-release it.
but I think there was some confusion on what they needed to do to fix the game, because they actually just let it fester, re-releasing essentially the same game in November as Vendetta Raven's Cry. This is where those fake reviews come in, and a series of positive reviews were tied back to the developer, and again, the game was pulled from sale. There's a lot more info here, but time is limited, so I'll just cover some of the essentials. The game was largely considered unfinished. Large chunks of the game are missing, the game had many debilitating bugs and often crashed, the game was blasted for being sexist and homophobic, and well, just generally not being fun. Just as well, you can't buy the game anyway. 0 out of 10.
Christopher Raven, you stand accused of murdering an officer of the Spanish Navy.
I really wanted to avoid this one, I did, but this is personal. Tony Hawk Pro Skater is a series of games that used to be synonymous with great music, excellent areas, secrets, and fast and fluid skating action. Used to being the operative term in that sentence. Well, after the many bad games that carried the name Tony Hawk, Activision sought to make it right. A new Tony Hawk Pro Skater, a direct sequel to the games that we all loved, and a return to form. Or, well, not. What we got instead was an unfinished game, devoid of fun or function. Like other games on the list, it featured fan favorites such as crashes, long load times, atrocious frame rates, and general bugginess. But oh no, the sins don't stop there. Developer Robomoto wanted a feather in their cap. They wanted to do something no one else had ever done before and found a new way to sink low. The game isn't even on the disc. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 has an 8 GB day one patch that contains, get this, the entire game. That's right, the only thing actually on the disc is the tutorial. So when the servers for this game are dead and buried, it'll take the rest of the game with it. And I'm not even sure it's a shame. This doesn't even function as nostalgia bait. 1 out of 10.
There you have it. The very first episode of 5M by 5R completed. I thank you for sticking with the channel long enough to find this, or if this is your first time watching the video, or if you're coming back in time to watch this video sometime in the future, well, welcome to the past. Is it weird? Have I changed a lot? Do I have more subscribers? Is the channel dead? There's so many questions that I have for you. But anyway, thank you so much for watching the first 5M by 5R. And as always, it was good seeing you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.